Greetings, explorers. With Halloween just around the corner, and our Strange Wilderness Halloween special coming even sooner, Ginge and I thought that it would be fun to bring you a week of horror leading up to the big day of our special. Over the next 6 days, you'll be treated to 4 short, scary stories, originally featured on our TikTok, Strange Wilderness Pod. So, turn off the lights, sit back, and enjoy our descent into the dark and scary. Timekeeper by Gridster 2. He had been given the watch on his 10th birthday. It was an ordinary, gray, plastic wristwatch in every respect, except for the fact that it was counting down. That is all of the time you have left in the world, son. Use it wisely. And indeed, he did. As the watch ticked away, the boy, now a man, lived life to the fullest. He climbed mountains and swam oceans. He talked and laughed and lived and loved. The man was never afraid, for he knew exactly how much time he had left. Eventually, the watch began its final countdown. The old man stood, looking over everything he had done, everything he had built.
5.
He shook hands with his old business partner, the man who had long been his friend and confidant.
4.
His dog came and licked his hand, earning a pat on the head for its companionship.
3.
He hugged his son, knowing that he had been a good father.
2.
He kissed his wife on the forehead one last time.
1.
The old man smiled and closed his eyes. Then, nothing happened. The watch beeped once and turned off. The man stood standing there, very much alive. You would think that, in that moment, he would have been overjoyed. Instead, for the first time in his life, the man was scared.
They Got the Definition Wrong by Louie. It has been said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. I understand the sentiment behind the saying, but it's wrong. I entered the building on a bet. I was strapped for cash and didn't buy into the old legends of the hotel to begin with, so $50 was more than enough to get me to do it. It was simple, just reach the top floor, the 45th floor, shine my flashlight from a window. The hotel was old and broken, including the elevator, so that meant hiking up the stairs. So up the stairs I went. As I reached each platform, I noted the old brass plaques displaying the floor numbers. 15, 16, 17, 18. I felt a little tired as I crept higher, but so far no ghosts, no cannibals, no demons. Piece of cake. I can't tell you how happy I was as I entered the last stretch of numbers. I joyfully counted them aloud at each platform. 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 44. I stopped and looked back down the stairs. I must have miscounted, so I continued up. 44, one more flight, 44, and then down 10 flights, 44, 15 flights, 44, and so it's been for as long as I can remember. So really, insanity isn't doing something repeatedly and expecting different results. It's knowing that the results will never, ever change, that each door leads to the same staircase, to the same number. It's realizing you no longer fall asleep. It's not knowing whether you've been running for days or weeks or years. It's when the sobbing slowly turns into laughter.
Guardians by DarkAlliGator. He awoke to the huge, insect-like creatures looming over his bed and screamed his lungs out. They hastily left the room, and he stayed up all night, shaking and wondering if it had been a dream. The next morning, there was a tap at the door. Gathering his courage, he opened it to see one of them gently place a plate filled with fried breakfast on the floor, then retreat to a safe distance. Bewildered, he accepted the gift. The creatures chittered excitedly. This happened every day for weeks. At first, he was worried that they were fattening him up, but after a particularly greasy breakfast left him clutching his chest from heartburn, they were replaced with fresh fruit. As well as cooking, they poured hot, steamy baths for him, and even tucked him in when he went to bed. It was bizarre. One night, he awoke to gunshots and screaming. He raced downstairs to find a decapitated burglar being devoured by the insects. He was sickened, but disposed of the remains as best he could. He knew they had just been protecting him. One morning, the creatures wouldn't let him leave his room. He lay down, confused but trusting, as they ushered him back into bed. Whatever their motives, they weren't going to hurt him. Hours later, a burning pain spread throughout his body. It felt like his stomach was filled with razor wire. The insects chittered as he spasmed and moaned. It was only when he felt a terrible squirming feeling beneath his skin that he realized the insects hadn't been protecting him. They had been protecting their young. The Happiest Day of My Life by Recludus.
I watched as my soon-to-be father-in-law held his daughter's hand as he walked down the aisle. Tears streamed down his face as the wedding march that played in the background reminded him that, in a few minutes, he would be watching me hold his daughter's hand and slipping on her ring. He walked up to the altar, and I took a hold of her hand, grinning from ear to ear.
It was the happiest day of my life.
My bride's father got down on his knees and started begging.
Please, I did what you asked. Just please, give me my daughter back.
I glared at him.
Shut up and stop ruining the moment. If you sit back down and enjoy the ceremony, maybe I'll tell you where I've hidden the rest of the body.
Away from civilization, things get strange and unsettling. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok to get the full, immersive, Strange Wilderness experience. Links to everything will be provided in the show notes. thank you for listening. And stay safe. Because as you know, it can get wild out there.